The Ultimate Book of Sales Techniques. 75 Ways to Master Cold Calling, Sharpen Your Unique Selling Proposition, and Close the Sale. STEPHAN SCHIFFMAN. America's #1 corporate sales trainer. My sales philosophy. Principle 1. Know what you want before you walk in the door. It's just as important to know what kind of next step you plan to ask for at the conclusion of the meeting. In other words, what is the next step you want to get to from this meeting? Specifically, what are you planning to ask for at the conclusion of the meeting? Another meeting to review a preliminary proposal? Another meeting to connect with the president of the company? A phone conference at a specific date and time to review technical details? A formal commitment to work together? Remember, the next step must be helpful, logical, and easy for the prospect to agree to. It must also be connected to a specific date and time. And you must ask for it directly before you leave the meeting. Be sure you plan a primary next step and a backup next step, just in case the first one doesn't work out. Principle 2. Prepare questions ahead of time. Know and practice the first few questions you plan to ask at the meeting. This is vitally important because you will be in an unfamiliar setting with an unfamiliar person during your initial meeting. That equals stress, and during stressful situations, you will naturally revert to that which is most familiar to you. Principle 3. Ask 6 types of questions. 1. What the prospect does. 2. How the prospect does that. 3. When and where the prospect does what he or she does. 4. Why the prospect does it that way. 5. Who the prospect is currently working with. 6. Only ask after you've addressed numbers 1 through 5. Whether and how you can help the client do what he or she does better. Questions in each of these 6 groups have a specific objective that will not vary, no matter how you decide to structure the question. Principle 4. Be punctual. A salesperson needs to be punctual. Period. He needs to respect his own time, as well as the time of the individual that he or she is going to see. When a prospect blocks out time for you, you have to move heaven and earth to make the meeting happen at the time you've committed to, and that usually means planning on making your way into the office 5 or 10 minutes before the appointed time. Principle 5. Find out what's changed. Because one person had the sense to ask me about what I had done that had caused me to change my pattern and walk into her store. Principle 6. Use fallbacks. After a sufficient amount of time, call your old prospects back and find out whether the same person you spoke with last time is still in charge of buying what your company sells. If you reach the same contact, say something like the following: "Listen, I understand you didn't buy from us 6 months ago, but I'm just calling today to find out how things are going in your widget acquisition department, and to see if you have any new projects up and running." And if the contact has changed, you can start over with the new person. Principle 7. Don't focus on negatives. Selling is difficult work, no one is saying it isn't. But you must be able to isolate problems, deal with them, and then get down to business. Stay positive. Stay upbeat. You are your own greatest asset. Focusing on negatives keeps you from performing at your peak. Principle 8. Show your competitive spirit. How do you develop a competitive spirit? There are a number of ways. Keep an ear open for intelligence about your business rivals. You talk to customers all day long, find out what your competition is doing, and, just as important, what they're saying about you. Report problems immediately to superiors. If you learn of a customer problem with your product or service that seems serious enough to warrant some rethinking, don't keep this to yourself. Tell the brass so something can be done immediately. Develop a team mentality. Others in your company, administrative people, production people, others in the sales department, are all working toward the same goal you are: success for the firm. Avoid pointless conflicts with co-workers. Share crucial information that will help your company surge ahead. Set goals and then go all out to attain them. Consider your daily schedule to be a battle plan, and then give your every effort over to the goals you establish. Principle 9. Take pride in your work. If you don't take pride in your product or service, and in the organization that stands behind it, you will not be successful. If you focus only on the negatives, the obstacles, the reasons you can't sell the way you should, guess what? You won't sell the way you should. Principle 10. Keep up to date. Part 2. Prospecting for clients and expanding your base. Principle 11. Keep prospecting at the front of your activity. Principle 12. New leads mean new opportunities. Principle 13. Listen, learn, and lead. Principle 14. Read industry publications. Principle 15. Make a new plan for each new prospect. Principle 16. Find a compelling opening statement. Principle 17. Listen to the prospect. Principle 18. Make sure the prospect comes first. Principle 19. Understand the prospect's viewpoint. Principle 20. Make 15 cold calls a day. Principle 21. Look at your numbers. Principle 22. Call from a script. Principle 23. Master third-party and referral calls. Principle 24. Use voicemail creatively. Principle 25. Remember why people buy. Principle 26. Anticipate common responses. Principle 27. Show enthusiasm. Principle 28. Tell others who you are. Principle 29. Use company events to move the relationship forward. Principle 30. Get prospects to open up to you. Principle 31. Give speeches to civic and business groups. Principle 32. Ask for referrals. Principle 33. Be a messenger of change. Part 3. Making the sale. Principle 34. Plan your day efficiently. Principle 35. Get organized. Principle 36. Don't product dump. Principle 37. Know your objective. Principle 38. Master PIPA. P. Presenting. I. Interviewing. P. Present a next step option. A. Agreement that your next step makes senses. Principle 39. Communicate trust. Principle 40. Ask the right questions. Principle 41. Give credit to the client's intelligence. Principle 42. Beware of bad assumptions. Principle 43. Raise the hard issues yourself. Principle 44. Develop conversations, not lectures. Principle 45. Don't rush. Principle 46. Always try to move the sale to the next step. Principle 47. Sell yourself on yourself. Principle 48. Know when to retreat. Principle 49. Know when to ask for help. Principle 50. Follow up the next day. Part 4, Email Selling. Principle 51. Setting email sales goals. Principle 52. Craft the perfect message. Principle 53. Break up the text. Principle 54. Use the subject line. Principle 55. Be careful with your signature line. Principle 56. Develop a brand with email. Principle 57. Start an email newsletter. Principle 58. Use emails to spread information about your company. Principle 59. Build your website. Principle 60. Start a blog. Principle 61. Email selling to executives. Principle 62. 5 email mistakes. Part V, Closing the deal. Principle 63. Ask for the sale. Principle 64. An objection is an opportunity. Principle 65. Overcome the money objection. Principle 66. Overcome I'll have to think about it. Principle 67. Deal with an outright no. Principle 68. Keep the closing positive. Principle 69. Know when to stop talking. Principle 70. Be a leader. Principle 71. Write the contract. Principle 72. Always come back to the table. Principle 73. Don't take it personally. Principle 74. Win well, lose better. Principle 75. Look beyond the close.